Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the Danny Show. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Stefan Thomas. Stefan Thomas is a passionate advocate for student success and an experienced keynote speaker dedicated to inspiring the next generation of students. If you're seeking for a dynamic speaker to engage, motivate, and empower your students, look no further than himself. He has helped hundreds of students develop resilience and achieve success in school through teaching them how to keep riding the wave, and we'll get into what that specifically means in today's show. His mission is to transform the educational landscape by equipping students with a mindset, strategies, and tools needed to accomplish success and thrive in all areas of their student experience. He has obtained a Bachelor of Applied Science in Family and Community Social Services from the University of Guelph Humber and a Master of Education from the University of Toronto. From hosting prestigious events seamlessly to providing invaluable career guidance, Stefan's charisma, reliability, and commitment to community resonate with students. Through motivational keynotes and interactive sessions, Stefan empowers students to redefine their educational journey and pursue their dreams with purpose. And now Mr. Stefan Thomas joins me live. How are you doing, Stefan?
Daniel, I am doing good. I feel good. It's the middle of the week, but I'm happy to be here with you.
Awesome, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for the call.
No
Really
problem.
appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure. First question, what inspired you to become a passionate advocate for student success?
Man, that is the golden question that we're starting off with. I think I will be honest. I'm not gonna say I woke up one night and like had this like vision and said like, wow, like this is what it is.
Right.
I honestly stumbled on it, to be honest. I think I always tell people when they ask me why do I do what I do, and if I saw myself being here today and what I do today, I absolutely didn't. I
Hmm.
think just like many people, when I went to university, I was just a student trying to well, not really trying to get by, just a student trying to just do what I had to do
Right.
and kind of just keep it going and move on to whatever career I thought I wanted to do. And I think, like a lot of students, when you're on campus, most students are broke, so you're just trying to find a
Right.
way to make some money. And
Exactly.
that's exactly what I did. And I think while I was there, I started to kind of realize how enjoyable it was working with students as a student and kind of being able to go through the student struggle together and help people through that struggle. So I think the pivotal moment for me was during the pandemic. And for those who might be listening to this podcast, or if you listen to this episode like 10 years down the line, COVID-19, the pandemic, you just want to search that up because it was a time.
It was a time.
It was quite a time. But I think when I was in that moment, I think it was my fourth year of uni. I just decided to do what I did best, hopped on IG or Instagram and post videos every week, kind of just encouraging students to just keep going, whether it's just like tips that can help with studying or tips that can help with, confidence. And before I knew it, I found that people were often looking to me at Guelph Humber for like that encouragement or that motivation. And when it came time to have annual elections for student
Mhm.
union, I found
Mhm.
a lot of my friends were really pushing me in that direction. So I'm like, you know what? I got nothing to lose, might as well. And I think diving into serving student union, known as Ignite at Humber College, Guelph Humber, I think that's what really showed me the passion I had to really advocate for students and really want to see students succeed, not just in school, but outside of school.
That's beautiful here to hear, man, and I'm happy you were a part of that experience, and that kind of ties into my next question. So now that you've been in those situations, trying to help students succeed inside and outside the classroom, like you said, how do you find success for students, and what type of strategies do you want to, impart on them or promote them, kind of like help them to achieve what success means?
Absolutely. And I think it can be such a complex question,
Hmm.
such a
Right,
simple question. And I
right.
think what I've learned through my lived experience being a student, what I've learned from studying, the whole student experience to do my master's of education, I
Hmm.
kind of realized that success for students is kind of self-defined,
Hmm.
right? Like I think
Right.
for a long time, you kind of being taught to believe that success is getting that like 90%, 95% like CGPA.
Right.
And if you don't hit that, like you're a failure. And I know some people, like I come from an ethnic background, and I know there's always been that pressure to, do good in school and then go and become a
Sure.
lawyer and go become, a
Same here, man.
doctor. And so you definitely know the struggle, you
Facts.
know what
For
I mean?
sure, man.
But I think I kind of started to realize that that is what propelled me to go into a certain field coming into university. I decided to go into accounting and finance. And within the first few months, I realized like this is not for me. Um, Even though I thought this is what would lead to success, I'm like,
Right.
success is really doing what I'm passionate about.
Hmm.
Um, so whenever I talk to students and I give skills and strategies, I always allow the foundation to be two things. It's really three things, but I always lead with what I call like the three W's, right? I always say if you really want to understand like how to be successful as a student, you got to start with who. Like, who
Hmm.
are you? Like, who are you as a person? Who are you without your academics? Who are you without school? Like, who are you without the grades?
Exactly.
Because when you have a good, solid understanding of your identity,
Hmm.
like that is what's gonna fuel you and lead you and point you towards your why. Like, why do you even want to come to school? What is it you want to do in the world? And
Hmm.
then you can actually study in what it is you want to do versus just studying accounting like I was doing to make quote unquote money,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
I completely agree.
those are the pieces I usually start with.
I see. I see. So you were talking about how you got into finance and business at your university, kind of at the beginning of your university journey. How was your experience at the University of Guelph Humber and kind of that
Mm.
transition between from accounting to FCSS?
Yeah. Oh boy. So just for those who don't know what FCSS is,
Sure,
it's the
please tell.
program I took at. Yeah. So when I actually started my university journey, so in accounting and finance, and I was at a university called Ryerson,
Mhm.
which is now called Toronto Metropolitan University, and
Right.
I was in their business school, so Ted Rogers School of Management,
Sure.
and it was just such a completely different landscape. Like I didn't know what I was signing up for because
Right.
I'd go to the campus and there's students my age dressed in like suits and blazers, and like I was walking the campus simply how I'm dressed right now, like a whole tracksuit.
Right.
Not even sure if I was meant to be in university. So I think
Sure.
being in that space, like I had the work ethic to be in the program, but I think it just wasn't my vibe. It just wasn't, what I was really interested in. So when I ended up transferring schools, moving over to University of Guelph Humber and switching into Family and Community Social Services, which is FCSS for short, it
Sure.
was like a complete 180, right? From like
Hmm.
accounting and finance to like practically social service work.
Hmm.
Um, it was took some time convincing my dad. I'll just say that.
I
it,
see.
it it took some time, but I think the campus in itself was everything I needed it to be because Ryerson, now TMU, and Guelph Humber, they're polar opposites. Like
Right.
Ryerson, you're walking into lectures with sometimes like 120 students minimum, like 500 students, like sometimes max. Versus like Humber, like the largest class size you're ever gonna get is 120. And
Right.
on average, at least for my program, like the class sizes were usually like 65 students. So I
Hmm.
think that in itself allowed me to actually feel like I belonged on a university campus because I knew the people around me in my classes by name, like my professors, I knew, and they knew me by name.
Yeah. Same
Um,
here, man. Same here.
and it makes the difference. Like I
For
know a
sure.
lot of students coming out of high school, even if you're a mature student, like I know that like belonging and like am I gonna just be a number like coming to university or college.
Right.
So
Right.
I think Guelph Humber, that was one of the biggest things for me. It's just like being able to make relationships and friends with people and actually getting involved on campus and seeing like your impact.
For sure.
Hands down, one of the best experiences for me.
That's amazing to hear. And now you've done FCSS and you've gone through Guelph Humber's experience. How did that kind of propel you to go and pursue a Master of Education at the University of Toronto? How was that experience for you?
Man, so I'll just start with the transition, right? Because I
Sure.
think,
Sure.
and this is what I always tell students, like a lot of students fall into the trap that I fell into. They think the school makes you. The school plays a big part, but you're the one who makes the experience. And
Right.
I think for a lot of individuals, like whether you're in Canada or like outside of Canada, like you're most likely to know the name of like Ryerson. Now it's going to be hard since it's TMU, but you're more likely to know that school name compared to Guelph Humber, right?
Right,
Um,
right.
but whenever I talk to like other students or even professionals, I always tell them that I'm like, I have way more experience than you. Granted, even though you went to the more prestigious school, because Guelph Humber gave us more opportunities. Like there's only 7 programs, as you know, and each
Right.
program came with experiential learning, like whether
Mhm.
it's a placement, an internship, a co-op, well, not a co-op, but all of those had like basically like work experiences embedded into our 4 years. So I think
Good.
that alone,
Mhm.
it helped my transition because it gave me so much experience before I even graduated. Um, so I think starting with that, once I was kind of leading towards my 4th year, I had to make the decision of, okay, what do I do post grad? Um, like this is time to kind of grow up, kind of keep turning to like school as a crutch. I'm like, if I'm going to go back to school, like there has to be a reason for why I'm going back. So I think in my last year, going into my 4th year, I kind of had a moment where I have to sit down with myself and change my life. Because this is why I'm where I am today. Like I sat down with myself and I'm like, okay, I'm doing social service work. The goal was to do my master's of social work. Um, but I don't really see myself working in the social work field as much as I thought I did.
Mhm.
Um, and I think going through that process of self-reflecting on my values, my goals, my mission, where I can see myself, the impact I wanted to make, I think that's when I stumbled on the fact that, I like students, I work well with them. This is an actual field called higher education that I can work in.
Right.
Um, and I think from establishing that, that's how I kind of landed on the master's program that I did at U of T.
Mhm.
And I think it just made sense to me because I really liked the program that they were offering. And Guelph Humber, thankfully, every single year they offer 5 contract positions to graduates to do student recruitment and
Mhm.
go on
I
the
see.
road and talk to high school students about the school. So it's just the perfect bridge for me where I graduated, I got that contract working with the school, and then I got another contract working in their basically their student life office, for lack of better words. And then about a year later, I got accepted into my master's. So
That's
that's when I
amazing.
made the transition.
That's amazing. So glad that it worked out for you and got that contract.
Yeah, I
It's great.
appreciate it.
So now that obviously you have a love and a passion for helping students succeed, can you share a story or an impactful story or moment that you've had
Mhm.
inspiring students?
Absolutely. There's one that's top of mind. Um, there's been a few, but there's one that really stands out for me.
Sure.
Um, I recently, a couple months ago, I got actually an academic advising position
Mhm.
at the University of Toronto, which is once again something that I never saw myself doing. And for those who don't know what an academic advisor is, it's basically I always say think of high school guidance counselor, but at
Yeah,
the university
basically.
college level,
Basically.
right?
Yeah.
So getting the job at U of T, that's just been a big accomplishment for me in itself. Got the job at 25 years old. Probably like the first Black man to have the job at that specific campus. Like it's just a lot. And I think in my first week of training, I was in basically our front office, getting trained by staff who been there before me, and just kind of taking a back seat, kind of watching how things kind of operate at the front desk. And there was a girl who walked into the office just to get support, right? So
Right.
I didn't think much of it. She got her help, all was good. She walked out the office. And I kid you not, about 10 minutes later, she runs back into the office. And Daniel, she stops. So I look at her. It's like, okay, maybe she has another question. And she stares at me for like 3 seconds. And she's just like, oh my God, you're the guy. You're the guy. So, so I was like, what is going on? She's like, yo, like, you're the motivational guy. So I'm looking like around like deer in headlights. My colleagues were like probably like 15, 20 years older than me are looking um at me just like, and she's like, yeah, like I've been watching you since I was in grade 6, and you're the reason why I'm here at U of T.
That's amazing.
So I'm just like, before she even gets to that, like I'm very big on like, okay, I don't like to take credit for something that I didn't do, and like people mix up people all the time. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, maybe it's me, maybe it's not. So I'm like, maybe you can search up my name, whatever. And then if it's me, we'll kind of figure it out. So she searches me up on LinkedIn and then she confirms like it's actually me. So when she got excited and she confirmed this me, she's like, yeah, like you're the reason why I'm here at U of T. And like I've been watching your videos and you helped me believe that it was possible to even get into this school based on all the motivational videos I've seen you post. And I was like sitting there just like, number one, I'm not that old for you to be watching me since grade six, because I don't even have recollection of you posting that long ago.
Right. Right.
And number two is just like my colleagues are now watching me, freshly started academic advisor, and they're just like, who is this guy?
Yeah. Right.
Um, but I think for me, like that was one of the biggest, most impactful moments in my life because I was in a space just a few months ago when it happened where I was, going through what a lot of us tend to go through, that imposter syndrome of like, is what I'm doing actually having an impact on the people I wanted to have an impact on? Like, is it reaching the audience that I wanted to reach? And a lot of times, of course, as a content creator posting videos, you can only know if it's having that impact if you're seeing the likes and the comments and all of
Right.
that. And sometimes when you don't see it, it's easy to believe that you're not reaching who you want to reach.
For sure.
So I think hearing her kind of give me that story and just seeing how it all aligned in the right time, the fact that I was
Sure.
there on the right day,
Uh-huh.
in the office at
Right.
the right time, she walked in at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think for me, it was such a great moment. Not to tell me that I'm anything great, but to show me that like, wow, like whenever I post something, whenever I do something, even if I don't see who it's reaching somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I understand, man. That's completely like she recognizes you, and I'm sure a lot of people do recognize you. I recognized you before I even started my university,
wow.
journey, and on LinkedIn, and I saw like, wow, this guy is so cool. He's so inspirational. Like he's going to all these schools, doing all these inspirational
Yeah.
talks. Yeah, so that's why I wanted you on my show, man. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, anytime. It means a lot. And I'm happy to
So
be able to be here with you just to cut in, right? Like
yeah,
I
for sure.
know being able to run a show, like it's no easy thing to do. And I think a lot
Thank
of
you.
times people are just like, yeah, like do we need another podcast? Like do we need another show? But I think from the first time we've connected, like I can see the passion that you have
Thank
to be
you.
able to like impact people and support people through the avenue that you do. So
Appreciate it.
it's just as much as a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it wholeheartedly. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, my next question to you is, I talked about how in the intro, you're an advocate for keep riding the wave. That's
Mm.
what you always say. So, I wanted to know, is that kind of tying in with like my question, basically, with like, are how are what should students do to overcome their biggest challenges today, and how do they keep riding the wave?
Yeah, if I was able to, I'd like go outside my room and grab the whole like 10 feet like surfboard that I got
Sure.
and do a little demonstration. But I think it's
Sure.
it's basically an expression that I came up with because I was trying to think about okay, like students fundamentally go through a lot. And I think a
Right.
lot of times people, especially parents, they don't really know the magnitude of what students go through until they're the ones who are back in the school.
Exactly.
Um, And I think for me, I'm just like, okay, like when I was at Guelph Humber, similar to you, like you walk out in the halls, like you see the struggle, like you see it, you see, the sleepless nights, the overdosing on coffee, like
Sure.
you see all of it. And I think outside of that, you see like the evident challenges of like, man, like things are so hard. I don't know if I can keep going. And
hmm
I think for me, like I've always been one to have that like grit, like I gotta get through this. But I think when I got to a phase, and the only reason why is because I was able to develop that resilience through becoming a transfer student when I was at TMU and not knowing if I wanted to keep going to school and how I was going to get through it. And I think getting through that process, going to Guelph Humber, being as successful as I was, I'm like, okay, there are actually certain mindset strategies and support systems that you need to have as a student in order
hmm
to succeed. And I'm just like, a lot of students, one, don't know what those are, and number two, a lot of students haven't embraced the mindset that, like, I kind of see school like this big ocean that we're
Right.
on. We're kind of like kind of just like on this island, and we think that, okay, we've been dropped on this random island in the middle of the sea
Mm.
called school, that we just been placed on, and we're waiting for someone to rescue us out of the circumstances. But I'm just
Right.
like, what if you took the surfboard that's lying there on, the island, hop on the waters, and kind of surf your way back to, shore, like surf your way back to where it is you want to go. And the reality is, when you're surfing, like, there's always going to be waves. Like, as a student and just in life, there are waves, there are challenges that we go through. It's inevitable.
Yeah, for
You know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah, for
But it's
sure.
just like, how do you navigate through that? Like,
Hmm.
how do you kind of ride the wave, no matter what the wave is, and keep riding the wave until you get to that place of success, whatever success looks
Right.
like for you. So I think with that kind of phrase and just like symbolism that I created, I'm just like, there's waves of success that are on the way, but you got to kind of overcome those waves of challenges. Or said, you overcome that with having the right mindset, kind of believing and being persistent in what your goal and your why and your dreams are, and make sure you have the right village around you, the right people around you who can help you get there and believe in the dream you have, even when you don't like believe in it yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like I feel like every student has to keep riding the wave. It's a tough wave to ride. Of course, there's going to
Yeah,
be challenges along the way, but it's inevitable, like you said, no matter what aspect of your life, whether that be school, outside of school, there's going to be waves, going to be tough
yeah,
days that you don't want to go
yeah,
do something, but you got to do it. You know, for the
absolutely.
long term, you're going to succeed, right? Exactly. So what kind of role do you think self-motivation plays in a student's life? How can
Mm,
they cultivate it to grow and flourish and blossom into someone that they've always wanted to be, but they've kind of never saw themselves being that person?
yeah, man, that is a big question.
Right.
Like, the ability to self motivate yourself, I'm realizing now it's not as easy
Yeah, it's not.
um, as maybe I make it even seem. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so I think it really does play a massive role, because I'm a big believer that, like, it doesn't matter who believes in. Okay, I won't say that.
Hmm.
It does play a role who does believe in you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's just like, if President, just thinking President Obama is just the first person who comes to mind. Like, if the Prime Minister of Canada walks up to us and just like, Daniel, I believe you're gonna have like the number one podcast in Canada. Of course, you have this like, man, like, I'm co-signed by like the Prime Minister.
Right.
But then if he takes that away and hops back on the next day, it's like, yeah, you know what? Like, I met another Daniel that I knew, not you.
Right.
Like, does that now like mean that you no longer believe that you would have the number one podcast? And I think for me, that's why I often say, like, yeah, who believes in you matters, but it's just like, you have to believe in you before they believe in you,
Hmm.
right? Like, you
Right.
have to see the vision you see. I always say this wherever I go, you have to see it before you see it. Like, you got to see the vision before you actually see it tangibly. And I think for students, it's just like, the reason why they struggle, the reason why they can't ride the wave as well as they should, is because they don't believe. It goes back to, who are you? Why are you here? And do you believe that you're meant to be here?
Exactly.
Like, if you don't know why you're here in school, and if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you have what it takes to
Hmm.
get through this, it doesn't matter which teacher speaks positively about you, it's eventually going to run out, right? So I
Exactly.
think
Hmm.
you build that self motivation when you anchor yourself in your identity. When you can say, this is who I am, whether I get a good mark or I get a bad mark, like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is the purpose I have. And no matter what happens, stormy days, sunny days, like, I am determined to go X, Y, Z, or to go this place, because I know what I'm here for. Like, I know what I'm born for.
Exactly.
You don't wake up and become like that, though.
I
Like,
know
I
for
think
sure.
there's a lot of factors, but I think it is a very big part of like
Yeah, it is.
getting by in life.
exactly. Like you can't get by in life. I feel like everyone, like I was talking to my dad about this last week actually. Like I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, like there's like certain people are built for certain things, right? So
Hmm.
growing up, no one's just going into becoming a doctor or an engineer or a teacher
Yeah,
or anything that they can, think of, right? They have dreams
absolutely.
when they're younger, but when they
Yeah,
grow up, it's completely different, right? You didn't even know what you were going to be like this academic advisor, right? You went to finance and now you're this.
exactly.
For me, I started this channel um because I had a, passion for journalism, sports journalism when I was a kid.
Mm,
But growing up, I went to Guelph Humber for journalism, but I just
yeah,
didn't like the courses. I didn't like how it was treating me, so I decided to ride the wave in a different path.
yeah.
So I wanted to do this still, and I'm still doing this, talking to you right now. So this is great, but I feel like you have to motivate like yourself, like you said, to keep riding the wave, no matter what it is. Just
Mm,
try different things, go towards your passions and interests and just
yeah,
go with the flow. It's going to be tough. It wasn't easy coming up with this show.
yeah.
I started 2 years ago, and
Mm,
I'm lucky enough that I've, talked to a lot of great people, including yourself. So that's amazing. But yeah, like I encourage students to just pursue their passions and interests. And like coming into my next question, like how do you kind of encourage students to navigate the wonders of academic, journey of the wonders of academic, life, and as well as like the pressures that come along with it?
yeah, absolutely. There are several things I usually say. For the sake of time, I'll give one of the tips I give, and the rest you can read in the book to come.
Sure.
Little drop in. But I think the one that I give is in order to navigate the wonders and the challenges of school, man, now I feel like I'm going to give more than one. Just all of them are just
Yeah, it's a
the
tough
biggest.
question to just say one.
Yeah. Oh my, because there's so much, and I've learned that there's so much. I think
Right.
the number one that I'll give is get connected with the staff at the school you're at, whether that is a teacher, whether that is support staff, such as an academic advisor or student life coordinator, whoever it is, connect to at least one staff. And if you're willing, and if they're willing, develop some type of mentorship relationship with them. Because the reality is, these folks, you myself now is one of those folks, like they carry so much wisdom and they basically have the cheat codes
Right.
that can help you get through school. There's a lot of things that students struggle with, not because it's hard, it's just because they don't read,
Exactly.
because they don't listen,
Right.
right?
For sure.
Like, there's no way you should be in third year university or third year college, whatever it is, and you still don't check your emails.
No, right. It's something they got to get used to, It's
And that's the thing. So I think that's usually, I'm like, your life becomes so much easier as a student if you simply just listen to what the professionals are telling you to do.
hmm
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be overwhelming. But I find the ones who listen and actually do what they're told are the ones who are successful, because in reality, they're getting all the tools. Okay, so if I gotta get up at this time and register for my courses, that means I gotta get up this time and register for my courses, because
Yeah,
at 6:05 or like 5 minutes later, everything's basically gone,
exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
that would be one tip I'd give.
That's amazing.
Like,
Amazing. I'm waiting for the book still. So
I'll
fingers
let you know
crossed
when it comes.
it'll come out soon.
It will, it will.
We're short on time, but hopefully we'll get through the next my last two questions, that is. So my
For
second
sure.
last question to you is how do you see this whole educational landscape panning out
Mm.
here in Ontario specifically? Um, what changes do you think are necessary for better student success in the long term, to support student success in the long term, that is?
Yeah, no, this is a very interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. I find, man, where do I start? Okay, I won't take too long because there's several things that need to change.
Right.
Um, I know one thing that is changing, thankfully, is there's more support that's coming out financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, paying your way through school is a very big challenge.
For sure.
It really is. So I think a lot of the change actually has to take place on the institutional level. There's a lot of barriers that exist in terms of policies. Um, and the truth is, no matter how much the student tries, like you don't know everything because there's so much information.
Right.
So a student will start off taking like one program and then it's just like when they realize they want to kind of switch over to something else, sometimes the switch isn't easy because of the policies that exist within institutions. So I think I know the higher ups are really trying to find a way to kind of break down some of these policies that act as barriers for students. One thing I know that is changing already is the virtual landscape of schools.
Mhm.
Um, Beforehand, a lot of colleges and unis in Ontario were very, you got to come in person to get this experience. But I find more and more because of this COVID-19 pandemic, there's more of a push for students want to stay home. They want to get the same content virtually because that's what was happening during the pandemic. So
Mhm.
I'm expecting to see more virtual offerings, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more sooner or later a school that tries to push a completely online accredited Ontario college or university. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I think COVID-19, uh, you know, really pushed us to the digital technology more so. And I feel like you said,
Yeah,
it will happen. It might, you never know.
yeah,
Depending on how this AI tools and all this AI technology
exactly,
goes, it
exactly.
very much could happen. So we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. Stefan, thank you for coming on. My last question for you. Um, any advice you want to give to any students who are looking to succeed in their educational pathways, and how can they become like yourself?
Mhm. Absolutely. Geez. Well, number one, please don't become like me.
Okay,
Become like you. Become
sure.
like you. I think that's number one. Like a lot of, and this is something that I've been encouraged from other people. It's good to have role models. It's good to look up to people, but we need you. Because there's never ever going to be another version of you. So that's number one. I
Sure.
think number two, in terms of excelling educationally, um, I think if I can give one piece of advice, which is what I give to my students in my appointments, is do, oh, I have to give two.
Sure.
Um, do what you love, not
Hmm.
what you think you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Um, I'm a strong believer that if you do what you love, even if it's deemed to not make money,
Sure.
like it will make you wealthy, right? Because you're driving what you do, like you're driven by your passion. Um, like I'd rather be wealthy in not just resources and connections, but wealthy in the amount of joy that I have because I'm doing what I love versus being rich because of the job that I hate.
Exactly. I totally agree.
So
I totally agree.
So I think if you're in that space right now where you're thinking of trying to go to college, university, or you're currently there, it's never too late to make a switch. So that's number two. And I think that's number two of point one. My
Sure.
last thing I will say, in terms of getting to a a good space or a successful space educationally would be never stop learning. Like it's so important to be humble. There's so
Mhm.
much, I think a lot of times with social media and or easy access to Google, we often think that we know everything we need to know, um, but we don't. So I'd say be humble, like be open minded to learning, but also don't be afraid to challenge
For sure.
information, right?
Sure.
Understand that when you show up in classrooms, when you show up in spaces, like just you are the learner, but you are also an expert to a degree. Like you have the ability to participate in your learning by sharing your wisdom through your life experiences.
Right.
So I never downplay, and this comes to the last point, like don't be even if you feel like you're an imposter, like remember that like if you can feel your skin, like you're alive for a reason, which means you're meant to be here.
For
Like
sure.
it's really believing that you are meant to be here. You might not know what you're doing, and you might feel that way for a very long time. But even if you don't know what you're doing, still wake up. And you look yourself in the mirror and you say that, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I believe that I have a purpose. I believe that I'm going to change the world. And I'm telling you, I always say faith, belief in yourself comes by hearing. If you don't say it out loud, like you're never going to believe it. So
For sure.
I'd say that like educationally, you're struggling on that test, if you're struggling in that course, you keep getting up every day, you keep trying. Because at the end of the day, if you still fail, at least you failed trying your best. But I'm a believer that you never fail. You never fail until you stop trying.
Exact.
If you don't stop trying, you haven't failed yet.
Exact.
So
I
that's
appreciate
all
that.
I'll say.
That's a lot of great words right there. Great statements. Very motivational. I felt like I was talking to Morgan Freeman, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I'll meet him one day.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully. So, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. You can reach out to Stefan through his LinkedIn, Instagram, email, and website. I'll put all his links in the description down below for y'all to go check him out and connect with him. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Stefan. I had a great time talking with you.
Absolutely. And can't wait to see bigger and better things for you as well, Daniel. Thanks again.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Have a nice one.
All right, you too.